Hey, what's up? How you doing? I recently got a request to do a college applications advice video, so here we are. Just gonna go through some tips that hopefully will be kind of helpful for you when applying to your college applications. Now I am a senior in college, so I am kind of far removed from the situation. It's been about 4 years since I've done it, but I still remember some general things that were important in terms of when I was applying for things. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run through some tips that I think will hopefully be helpful for you. First off, if you have to write an essay, make sure you have at least 2 other people besides you proofread it. The more eyes on this thing, the better. I don't think you have to write an essay for every application. Just depends on the school, but if you do have to write essays, make sure that you're having people read them, and it's especially helpful if they are people who have done these in the past before, if they're people who have written college essays before. And it's even better if they have done it kind of recently. So you can ask your parents, you can ask your aunts, uncles, teachers, other people who have done it in the past but they're kind of far removed from it. Or you can ask people like siblings or friends in college or people who have just done it more recently. They might be able to help you a little bit more because it's a little bit fresher on their brain, but parents or teachers or other people can also help you with those too. And even if you don't have anyone in your life who can read it, who has applied before to colleges or who has written these essays before, it's still a good idea to have other people proofread it just because you don't want any typos or mistakes in it. That's not a good look to have mistakes in your essay or application for college. One of the things I remember people struggled with the most when applying for colleges was just thinking about all of the different activities they could put on their application to sort of set them apart from everyone else. Sit down and come up with a list of all the possible things that you can put on your application in terms of activities you've done to show that you were active and responsible and had a full schedule in high school. Think sports, think clubs, activities, ways that you were involved in your school, even if it wasn't in an official club, if it was something else that you did. Maybe you helped out teachers, you were a teacher aide, whatever. You stayed after school sometimes to just help somehow. Anything like that might not necessarily be a club or something official, but it's still ways that you were active in your school. Church organizations that you've done, other organizations outside of school, volunteer hours, anything. Anything that will show that you were an active person in high school. Honors classes, AP classes, anything like that. Anything that sets you apart. And if you don't have a whole lot of that to put on your application and you still have time before your college app, like maybe you're a junior right now watching this, or maybe you just have a little bit of time before you have to start submitting applications, try to get in some last minute stuff that you can do. Ask your teachers if they need any extra help. Try to look for other organizations that you might be able to join right now and sort of get into, so that's something you can put on your application. Look at volunteering in your community so that way you can add some volunteer hours into your application just to pad it up a little bit more if you don't have a lot that you can put on there right now. Alright, next is one I'm sure you've heard, but have a safety school. A lot of people go by the rule of apply to at least 3 universities and make sure one of them is a safety. I don't think you have a certain number that you should apply to. I didn't follow that, but I definitely do think that you should have a safety school. A school that you know you can get into, and a school that you know you would at least somewhat enjoy going to, and that you wouldn't be absolutely depressed if you had to go there. Don't pick a safety school that you know you can get into but you really don't want to go. Try to find a school that you would be alright with going there and that you know you can get into. That might not be possible depending on where you are and the school options around you. If you want to stay like close and you only have like a certain radius of schools you can apply to, so you don't have that many options, that might be a little more difficult. But if you're willing to branch out more or just have a lot of school options around you, definitely look into all of the options and make sure that you're applying to all of the places that you could potentially be interested in going to. Another thing for on your applications is make sure you do put any honors, dual enrollment, or AP classes that you have taken in high school. AP looks great, honors looks great, any sort of academic achievement looks great on your applications. And I have read that schools actually prefer for you to have taken honors classes and gotten a lower grade than if you would have just gotten higher grades but only taken the baseline classes. So if you are still in high school and you have the opportunity to take honors classes sort of later on, like you're not through yet, then I would recommend taking them if you think that you can do okay in them. If you don't want to take them because you're afraid you won't get an A and you don't want to risk losing a 4-point GPA or bringing your GPA down any. From what I've read and researched about it, colleges prefer you to have taken honors classes and drop your GPA a little bit, as opposed to just taking the standard classes, because it shows that you are striving in your academic endeavors instead of just sort of settling into baseline classes that you can achieve A's in. Because typically if you have a 4-point and you're just in basic classes, you could probably take honors because you are doing really well in your bases, and you can push yourself a little bit harder and take honors. You might struggle a little bit, you might get a B or 2, but you could probably do it if you do really well in your base classes. So that's just something to think about if you still have the opportunity to do that, if you're not like having to put your college apps out right now. Next comes with researching the schools a little bit. Know the required ACT or SAT score to get into your school. And if that score is higher than what you got on the ACT or SATs, if you can, take them again. Some schools accept both ACT and SAT scores. I don't know if all schools do that, but I know that some do. So look into it, see if the school that you're applying to does that, and maybe consider taking both tests instead of just one, because you might find that you scored better or did better on one over the other. If standardized testing is something that you struggle with, it might be helpful for you to take both and have maybe a better score on one that you can use. Next, make sure you're requesting copies of your high school transcript. They have to send them to the universities that you're applying to, so that's just something that you just gotta make sure you're doing and you're aware of. I don't think I ever personally took a transcript from my high school, but I do remember going to like the office at my school and having to request my transcript to be sent. So just make sure you do that. Next is consider carefully who writes your recommendation letters. You want to make sure it's somebody who's going to take their time, someone who's going to really be thorough with it and write really good stuff about you, not someone who's going to like sort of rush through it, not take their time, someone who doesn't really care that much. You don't want someone like that. You want someone who is articulate, who's thorough, who you know is going to do a good job, who you know cares enough to actually sit down and think it through as they're writing it. And you do want multiple references, so you want to try to think of multiple people who will do this for you. Bonus, if there's someone that's known you for a while, so they know even more about you, so they're typically gonna have more to say. And this can be people who are teachers, people who were leaders of organizations you were a part of, family, friends, anybody who basically just knows you well and can write a good recommendation for you. And then lastly, but it's also important, make sure to go through and check all of your social media and purge it of anything illegal or just really not appropriate or not good, such as underage drinking, drugs, any sort of comments that you might have made that are just like not appropriate. Something that can really hurt you later on in your life is having that stuff on your social media, and it can also hurt you in terms of college applications if your college happens to go through and check that. They don't necessarily do that. Some really, really big schools that accept a lot of people probably aren't going to go through the social media of every single person who is applying. But if it's a smaller school, maybe if it's a religious school, if it's a more competitive school, that's something that they might do. So just go through, check it, make sure you don't have anything crazy on your social media. Make sure to check all of them, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Even if you haven't gotten on Facebook in forever, still go back and check it. And like I was saying, it can hurt you later on down in life too. So it's just good practice to not put any of that stuff on your social media and to just go ahead and do a purge of it anyway. Make sure that you don't have anything from your past on there, and try not to do it in the future either. It's just good practice. But those are all of my tips. I hope they were helpful for you. You can also go check out different tips online, like just search application tips for colleges. You can ask people who have done it in your life. If you're struggling with your current application, just ask someone who's done it before. Maybe a sibling, a friend, your parents, a teacher, anyone, to get more personalized help if you need it. And don't stress too much about it. I know applying to colleges can be kind of a stressful time, but don't stress too much. Easier said than done, I know. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, you can give it a like. You can also subscribe to me. I put out new videos every single week. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.